Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of In the Damn Way, Life, Love, and everything in between. I am your host and creator, Brandy Alexander. Welcome you today on this nice Saturday afternoon. This week was kind of hard and coming up with what I wanted to say because I have so many topics that I want to discuss with you guys. But I decided this week that we wouldn't start a new series. What we would start is, or what we would talk about is overcoming fear. That is something that I have had to deal with this week. And so I felt as though it would be a great topic to discuss and kind of break down and talk about how to overcome fear, because I know that is the one thing that especially people who have been in traumatic or domestic violent situations or relationships, the one thing that they have a lot of is fear, and the one thing that they don't know how to do is overcome that fear. And so I want to help those while I'm helping myself understand it and see how it comes to be, and then talk about how we can get rid of it or how we can work through it. I feel like that is something that will always be a part of you no matter what. So the chances of us actually getting rid of all the fear that we have, I doubt that we'll be able to do that, but we will be able to recognize it when we are presented with it and find out how to work through it. So I wanted to start out by talking about what is fear. Okay. In order to overcome anything, you must first understand what it is and how it affects your life. Fear is one of them. So again, I went back to Google this week just to kind of see what's out there and then talk about it from a personal standpoint. So it says on Google that that fear is a noun. I'm going to say distressing emotion aroused by impending danger, evil, pain, etc. Whether the threat is real or imagined, the feeling or condition of being afraid. Okay. And that's a true statement. I won't doubt the definition, but I'll just say that that's definitely a true statement. It is aroused by evil, danger, pain, trauma, abuse, and it can cripple you, whether you know it or not. So according to betterhealth.vic.gov.au, so just in case you want to go and get this information that that I'm telling you on this show, betterhealth.vic, V as in Victor, ic.gov.au, it says that fear can be healthy. It is programmed into your nervous system and gives you the survival instincts you need to keep yourself safe from danger. Fear is unhealthy when it makes you more cautious than you really need to be to stay safe and prevents you from doing things you would otherwise enjoy. Okay, so that's a lot to unpack, but we're going to unpack that statement. That's a broad statement. So it is programmed in your nervous system and gives you the survival instincts you need to keep yourself safe from danger. Let's start with that. The one thing that I had to understand when I first became a single parent was, how am I going to survive? Okay, my support system was not as supportive as I needed it to be. I did not have savings saved up because I didn't honestly believe that something like this would actually happen. It's almost like the boogeyman. People can tell you, when you were little and the boogeyman would come in your dreams, or you had a bad dream, nightmare, and they would tell you it's just a dream. I thought that my ex-husband ever being removed from our household was just a dream. It would never happen because it had not happened all the times that I prayed for it. So the likelihood of it happening now, I thought that there was going to be a fluke and he was going to be here. And so I did not take the situation as serious as I should have. But when the situation presented itself and I did have to become a single parent, I had to learn survival instincts for my children. I knew how to survive in an abusive relationship because I had done that for so long. I knew how to do that, but my children were not abusive to me. So my survival instinct had to change. It had to change now that I had become a survival person for them. I had to figure that out. I would be lying to you guys if I told you that I survived this or figured this out overnight. I did not. It took me maybe about 2 or 3 years before I figured out how to survive for my children, because I was so pent up still with fear and with anger and with animosity that I couldn't understand the survival portion of it. I was still catering to the person who had caused this. I was still making sure that they were okay. I was still in victim mode. Okay. I was still being abused and didn't know that I was being abused. I was still being controlled and didn't know that I was being controlled. A lot of people say, oh no, you was just looking out for your husband. No, because a husband is supposed to protect their wives, their family. A husband is supposed to support their family. I know, financially, mentally, emotionally. They're supposed to be the head of the household and everything follows behind them. And I've told my ex-husband this, so this is not me throwing shade, but had we followed behind him, by us following in behind him, we ended up in a jacked up situation. He was not the person to lead us, but I was allowing him to be somewhat of the head of the household. Now, I'm not going to say he had full and utter control, because he didn't, because part of me still knew that I had what it takes to survive. I just didn't know how to use it yet. So because I didn't know how to use it, I wasn't able to maneuver for the first 2 or 3 years after he was removed from the household. That meant we lost a lot. I went through a lot. I did everything that I could to forget what I had gone through or not deal with what I had gone through, because I just needed to provide. Okay. Again, survival had not kicked in yet. When we lost, and a few more things happened that were traumatic in my household, is when I got afraid. I'm messing up. This ain't right. I'm not doing this correctly. I'm not being the parent that I know I can be. I'm not being the person that I know I can be. That's when fear kicked in. I'm afraid of what my kids are going to think. I'm afraid of what people are going to think. I'm afraid that I'm going to fail. I'm afraid that my ex-husband is going to be right in telling me that I wasn't strong enough to do what it is I'm doing. That's when my survival kicked in. That's when my survival kicked in. But then I was like a horse, right? I was a horse. I was on a racetrack. I was running. I was making sure that things were getting done. I was making sure that my kids had what they wanted, what they needed. I was giving everybody else all of me and taking none for myself. I was afraid to deal with me. I was afraid to deal with the trauma that I had gone through, because if it became real, if I actually dealt with it, then I had to be open and honest about everything, and I wasn't quite ready yet. So I was in the part of fear, trying to survive. I wasn't living yet. I was just, putting myself in a fearful situation so that I could survive. Fear that if he was to come back and I am not in a better place, then he was right. I'm not this. I'm not that. I was in fear of failure. So because I was in fear of failing, I started to survive and started to provide the home that I felt like my children needed. not understanding that what they needed was me. That's the one thing that I didn't understand. I didn't know how to give them because I didn't even know who I was. So I can't give you something that I don't even recognize. I can give you what someone has told me I should be or what I've seen happen to me. I can give you that, but I can't give you who I really am because I'm too afraid to deal with that person. That part of my fear I haven't even tapped into yet. That's when it became unhealthy. Because I was doing everything. So that's the second part of that definition where it says fear is unhealthy when it makes you more cautious than you really need to be to stay safe and prevents you from doing things you would otherwise enjoy. I cannot tell you honestly everything that I enjoy because I've spent 42 years of my living doing things to please others for fear of not having a certain person in my life for whatever reason, whether that be my parents, my dad walked away, my mom sort of walked away. So I played whatever part they needed me to play to keep them just right there so that I felt like I had a mother and a father, which I didn't. And I'm not throwing shade at them. So if you're listening to this and saying, oh my God, here she go again. No, I'm not. I'm just being honest. And I've spoken to each one of them. My dad's not here anymore, but before he left this earth, I let him know I was the person that they wanted me to be. Or I thought they wanted me to be. Every now and then my strength came through and I told them that's not me. But 90% of the time, I was whatever they needed me to be, whether it be caretaker, whether it be the best daughter, whether it be the financial person, whether it be, the cleanup lady, whatever I needed to be for them in order to feel like they were a part of my life. That's where I wanted to be. Same thing with my ex-husband. I didn't want to go back home because I knew I wasn't getting enough at home, but I wasn't getting enough in my home. Right? So, but I was fearful of what could be. If I go back home, I know what that life could be like. I can't do that to my children. So while I'm in fear of this situation, I would much rather stay here than to deal with the unknown. I would much rather live a life I don't want to live. Standing in the kitchen, cooking and cleaning and not going nowhere and standing in the house and not going out and enjoying life. I would rather do all of that if it keeps me from being alone. So that's another fear. So let's talk about how I got to that fear or how people get to that stage of fear. As we talked about 2 weeks ago, we talked about abusive relationships, and I spoke about the person who is the abuser, or they can control or abuse you. They must make you believe without a shadow of a doubt that they have your best interest at heart. Or they're better than the situation that you were in prior to them meeting you or being with you or what have you. You trust me, I would never hurt you. And just as soon as that trust is broken and they put their hands on you, they show you that good again, and you feel like, oh, okay, excuse me, it's okay, I can deal with this. They didn't mean to do it the last time. They said they're sorry, so let's just move forward. The problem with it is once you become fearful of that person or that situation, you stop living. You stop living because their thoughts are the only ones that are important to you. You want to make sure that you make them happy however it's necessary. You want to make sure of that. So, I hate to keep bringing him up, but that's my only example. My ex-husband used to come home and give me silence sometimes. That drove me up a wall. Because I hadn't done anything. I ain't seen the man all day. He been at work. Why are you angry when you come home? What pissed you off between the time you got off work to the time you got home? And why did it piss you off with me? Because I didn't do it. It's control. He knew he could do it and get away with it. He knew I wasn't going to pick up and, to leave. But it was just a way of putting more fear in my mind in thinking that I was doing something wrong. And I fell for it. So here I am, right? Okay, well, maybe the dinner I cooked the night before maybe wasn't that good. Or maybe the outfit I had on wasn't that good. Or maybe I didn't get up fast enough when he asked me to do something. So let me work on that. Let me work on that, and let me make sure that, next time if he asks me to do something that, I'm doing exactly what he wants me to do. Because that's more important than me being happy. Me standing in that kitchen and making sure he has a hot meal. That's way more important than me saying, you know what, I really just feel like going out to eat. I don't really feel like cooking today. If it makes him happy, if it makes him come home and speak to me and talk to me and not give me this awkward silence when I haven't done anything, if it makes me feel dumb enough to think that I've done something and I can fix it, he's won. He's kept me in that fear. And so for a long time, his feelings and emotions, and when I say a long time, his feelings and emotions were more important than mine. His happiness was more important than mine. I would go visit him knowing that the mortgage was due, knowing I didn't really have the money. But I would go get my hair done, make sure the kids, had something nice to put on, and, we got a rental car and we going to visit, and, we staying in a hotel. I made sure that he was my top priority because I didn't want him to feel like I was doing anything wrong. Even though I wasn't. I never was. But the fear that had been placed upon me, I could not shake it. His happiness superseded mine. Even though I would have rather taken that time and took my kids to the beach or gone on a vacation. I couldn't go nowhere. I couldn't do anything. And he wasn't even here. That's how deep that fear was. He wasn't even here. And even after the divorce, the fear of being in a real healthy relationship superseded my life. So I ended up in stupid relationships or ended up in stupid situations that I knew I didn't want to be in, but I would rather take that than be in something real because I didn't want to make him. We're divorced, but that fear was so stuck in my mentality. I'm still thinking about what he would think, what my kids would think. Instead of me being happy and having someone there to support me and love me the way I needed to be loved or deserve to be loved, I was willing to be alone, have several situationships that made honestly no sense with people who couldn't match me on a good day. And I'm not talking about financially. I'm just talking about mentally, educationally. They didn't fit me no kind of way. None. But I let them in my life because I knew they were not here to stay. I was too afraid to be in something that made sense, because then I would have to be open and honest with myself and say that I allowed myself to be afraid of someone who no longer was a factor in my life, but still had control over my life. I would have to be honest with a person and say that out loud. I wasn't ready to say that. I would just make myself believe I had moved on by dealing with people, random people. I'm going to say random because, again, none of them were my soulmates. I didn't love them. And, I might have said I did, but love what? And I'm not saying that these were bad people. Trust me. If I sound that way, that's not the momentum I'm trying to create. What I'm saying is they were good for somebody. They were just not good for me. The person that I needed to match the level of love and intensity and loyalty and, everything that really is about me, the passion that I have about everything that I do, that person I still have yet to meet. Because I'm too afraid to meet that person until now. Now that I'm on this healing journey, now that I am being open and honest with myself and what really completes me and what really makes me feel whole, now I'm able to work through that fear. But we'll get to how working through that fear works in just a moment. I have a few more things to point out. But another thing about fear is that your opinion of survival is warped, because you can't think for you surviving. You can't think of your survival, because you're focused on what that person wants, which was kind of what I just said before. But again, that goes back to the way I was surviving in the beginning. I thought surviving was obtaining, having someone just to say I have someone. I thought that was surviving. I thought, just enjoying my life, the life that I never had. I thought that was surviving, but that was not survival. That was fear. That was fear of actually being honest about what I really wanted and who I really was. I'm just operating. When I started to hone in what I wanted and put that survival mode in, it was on in. If you get out of the situation, survival is the only way you know how to live. Again, and I say that because I thought I was living. I thought me working 16, hours a day, that was me living. I thought me having, nice things, I thought that was me living. Me doing what, taking vacations I would have never thought of taking. I thought that was me living. Sorry. I was surviving. I was surviving the trauma. I was surviving the abuse. I was surviving everything that I had gone through. I was surviving. You want to know how I know I was just surviving? Because I was still tolerating it from other people that were not my ex-husband. I was still being controlled by family members who wanted me to be a certain person, or thought that I should be a certain person. I should live a certain lifestyle. I should, act a certain way. I should speak a certain way. I was still being controlled and not able to be me, because I'm still trying to prove to everybody that I'm a certain person. But the problem with that is that when you're not living your truth, when you're not living who you are called to be, y'all, you struggle with that thing so hard, and sometimes it comes out in a way that is very unhealthy. You get tired of people just trying it and trying it and trying it because they think that you're, you're this person and you're so fearful of speaking up for being the true person that you are. You're so fearful of living and you're just convinced that the only way to live is to survive, that you keep your mouth shut. Then when you open your mouth, everybody think you're going crazy. Oh my God, she's having a breakdown. Ain't nothing wrong with her. She's just taking back over. That fear is starting to be crushed and her living is starting to shine. So don't get mad at her. Me. All right. The last thing about fear, and then we're going to move on to how we overcome fear, is that you're quick to obtain everything you want and convince yourself you are healthy, but that fear is still prevalent. You have just covered it up with things so you cannot see. Y'all, I became so good at that, it wasn't even funny. Shopping, buying clothes. Clothes never look right. Why they ain't look right? Because I wasn't right. I was still living in fear. I still had my mask on. I still didn't want to take my mask off. Things, my house. I changed my house up so much because I'm trying to mask it. I'm trying to change. I'm trying to, make myself feel like I got it all together. If I got it all together. I was convincing myself, though, because I was too afraid to deal with whatever it was that was keeping me from living. The problem with that is the person who abused you can see right straight through that. Nobody else can see it. Everybody else thinks, oh my gosh, she got it all together. She is so put together. I just can't believe she has done all of this. And she is just this, that, and the third. And I got so many accolades about who I was as a person. And nobody knew that on the inside, I was a little girl balled up in a knot, afraid to actually be Brandy Alexander. I just was what everybody wanted me to be. Oh my God. You really should just tell people like how good of y'all, please, you take this shell off, because I promise you I am a shell of a person. You crack this shell like you would an egg, and on the inside, you're going to find purdy yolk. This egg ain't cooked. It is not solid on the inside. I am still trying to get it together. But I learned how to survive. Okay? I learned it. I mastered it. I got a whole PhD, 2 or 3 of them. Doctor. I'm Dr. Brandy Alexander when it comes to fear. I know how to mask it up, make it pretty, and make it seem like everything is all right. But when I look at the eye of my abusers, when I look in the eye of people who have hurt me, they can always hurt me again. They know how to do it. Because they can see straight through all of this facade that I got put up. They can see straight through it. They know I haven't dealt with it. They know I haven't processed it. They know I haven't really, just dealt with it. They know that. They know I'm still fearful. And what they do? Hurt me again. Y'all think I'm lying? I'm so serious. Hurt me again. It's okay. It was okay for them, but it was not okay for me. And so what I had to understand and what I had to do is I had to stand in front of my mirror and say, now, are you going to continue allowing people to hurt you who have mastered how to hurt you, how to make you fearful of actually standing up for yourself? and being the person that you want to be, are you going to continue to be that person, or are you going to overcome this fear? Well, y'all, I decided I'm overcoming fear. I'm living my best life. People ain't gonna like it. I really don't care. And that's the whole point of this podcast. I don't care about anybody who has hurt me that does not want me to speak out. I don't care about that. You don't want me to speak out? Well, you shouldn't have hurt me. You don't get to tell me what to say, how to live, how to be, you don't get to do that anymore. Your feelings about what I'm doing, or your fear about what I'm doing in order for me to speak my truth, is no longer a part of my life. So how did I do that? Let's talk about it. Stop seeing fear as survival and recognize it as strength. Y'all, if you do that, that's key. That's the most important part, because it changes you from a victim to a survival. Make a list of the pros and cons you recognized about you while you were living in fear. What were your characteristics? What were your likes and dislikes? Because you're going to take that list and you're going to look at it and say, okay, well, I know I didn't like that, and I know I was like this, and I know that happened. So I know I don't want any of that. So I know not to continue doing that in order to not be fearful. I have to move over here and I have to do something different. That's the key. That's the big secret. Stop seeing fear as survival and recognize it as strength. Once you turn that fear into strength, you're not just surviving. Yeah, I may have the fear of being in an abusive relationship, but I have enough strength to say, you know what? I'll give a relationship a chance. But if I see red flags, then I'll know it's time for me to bow out. I won't continue to wait for it to change. I'll just go ahead and remove myself from toxic situations. I'll be strong enough to recognize them and strong enough to do something about them. I won't just let them fester and then get mad when I'm back in the same situation. I'll recognize it. I'll do something about it, because now I know what I'm able to do on my own. So I won't allow that to be my life. I won't allow that to be my story. I won't allow my past to dictate my future. I will find strength in whatever weakness I had. I will find my strength, and then I will live off that strength. I will put that at the forefront, move my weaknesses to the back so that I can begin to live. It's not going to be easy, because being open and honest about what you're fearful of or what your weaknesses are is one of the hardest things that we can do as people. Everybody wants to think that they're the strongest person in the world. Oh, I wouldn't go through that. You never know what you will be capable of being. You won't know what you're capable of taking until you actually taking it. And some people don't even know they're taking it. They think they actually living and actually have strength. And honestly, you being controlled and you can't see it, because you're not healthy enough to see it. You're just existing. You're surviving. You haven't started living yet. Another thing that I found to be helpful is create a vision board or a list of expectations you have had or have for your life. I have a vision board that I created a couple years ago, and I haven't made another vision board because I haven't even completed everything that's on that vision board. And I'm not saying Put a timeline. Do not put a timeline on whatever it is you put on your vision board, because you don't know how long it's going to take before you get to it. But don't take it down until you have completed what you want to complete from that vision board. Take one thing at a time. If the thing on your vision board is to smile more, well, then you try to smile every day before you try to work on being financially stable. Do the thing that's hardest. Smiling may be the hardest thing. Paying your bills and being financially stable may be something minute as, or something as small as paying your bills before you. I don't know. Something small compared to you actually putting a smile on your face because you love yourself enough to smile. I don't know who has ever been broken down, but sometimes just that smile can change your whole day. Actually, if you smile, maybe you'll be able to hear someone when they talk to you about your finances and what you can do to make them better. And therefore, you can reach two goals in one. But one may be conducive, my favorite word, conducive to the other. But you don't know until you start to work on that one. So find one, work on it, and I promise you it'll just lead you to the others and to the others and to the others. But don't take the board down. Don't put an end date on it, because things take time. Healing takes time. Nothing is going to be done in a day. And if you're thinking that, then you might as well just stop the healing process, because you're going to go between healthy and unhealthy so many times before you actually reach a healthy way of living that it's not even going to be funny. And the only reason why I say that is because you're going to deal with trials and tribulations as you're on your healing journey. And it's going to set you back. It's going to take you back through some unhealthy ways when you're dealing with trials and tribulations, because that's just human behavior. So you have to give yourself grace when you're going through this healing journey and say, you know what, this may take me 5 years to complete, but I'm leaving it up here until I complete it. I will not do another vision board until I complete every single thing on my vision board, because the one thing I do not understand is that you create boards every single year, but they have the same thing on it. I want to lose 20 pounds. If I keep doing a board every year and I ain't lost 20 pounds, that makes no sense. Leave the board up there till I complete everything. And then I come up with different expectations that I want for myself. Or, bring back the expectations that I wanted for myself. Another thing is, you want to look at them every day. I have affirmations on my mirror in my bathroom. I have my vision board in my bathroom. I know I'm going to take a shower every day. So if I'm going in that bathroom every day to wash my face, brush my teeth, or whatever it is I'm doing in my bathroom, I'm looking at my affirmations. I'm looking at my vision board. I'm looking at the things that I want for myself. And I'm constantly telling myself, I'm building a healthier person. You just didn't go from baby to an adult. You had to go through several stages in your life. You had to go through the growing process. You had to go through the puberty process. You had to go through the adult process. So it takes time to get to where you want to be. So don't put limitations in, because if you do that and you don't complete it within that year and you do another board, then you're going to feel like a failure. And there go fear again. Fear telling you can't do it. So now we're back into survival mode. I did that. I left my job last year ready to live. Soon as things got a little shaky and I didn't know what to do, I went back into survival mode, back into fear mode. Scared to move. That was the most toxic behavior I could have done to myself, but I did it to myself because I'm used to that. I'm used to things being good for a moment and then them turning bad, and me focusing on the bad so much that I don't focus on the good. I know what that life feels like, so I'm used to it. So you have to break that cycle within yourself, and it takes time. Don't beat yourself up if you don't get it in 5 days. Give yourself grace to say that, you know what? this going to take me a little bit longer. This might take me a year just to get out of this. And it may. But the end of it, the actual reward that you reap from going through your healing journey and taking that process is so much better than the life that you're living while you're unhealthy. Another thing to overcome fear is to get boundaries. Understand that everyone cannot be with you while you overcome the fear, because someone that you may be dealing with may be one of the people who magnified that fear in the first place, and they don't know it, and you've never spoke about it because it made your life much simpler, or you knew how to react to being in a fearful situation that you just dealt with it. So you know how to move forward. But create those boundaries. And it's okay to tell those people why you're creating those boundaries. If those are people that you truly care about and you know that they truly care about you, be okay with telling them, look, I have to do this. I have to work through this because there was so much that I have to unpack. I can't do that while you're here because you were part of the problem. It's okay to have those conversations. And say to yourself, you know what? I'm doing this because I love me and I want to love you unconditionally. I don't want there to be anything in my mind that keeps me from giving you the me that I know that I can be. But if I'm still angry, if I'm still hostile, if I'm still living in fear, if I'm still just surviving and I'm not living, trust me, the person that you're going to get is going to be an uneven person that will break at any moment, and you won't get an unconditional love from that person. What you'll get is, I will love you if and when and where. Condition. So I hope you guys truly understood and understand how crippling fear can be. It can drive you insane if you're not careful, if you're not fixated on changing the behavior. You don't understand how disabling it can be. You really don't. You really don't until you start to look at it and understand, like, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid of myself. I'm afraid of succeeding. I'm afraid of being the person that I know I can be. I'm afraid of doing the things that I know that I want to do because I've allowed so many things to dictate how I feel, what I do, what I say, how I live, how I move, how I talk, how I this, how I that. And at the end of the day, none of it is important. You are important. You are strong. You are more than what someone has told you you can be. So why not take that fear, move it to the back, put strength in the front, and move forward? You can do it, but it takes time. And you have to be willing to go through that process. The healing journey, I was just telling the person the other day, is more toxic than being in a toxic relationship. Like, you have to go through every emotion. You have to go through every situation. You have to go through every person that made you feel some type of way. You have to deal with the things that you've done to yourself. You have to go through all of that and be open and honest. And oh my God, it's so draining, and it's this and it's that. But when I go to sleep at night, I rest. Unless I go to sleep upset. But other than that, I go to sleep and I rest because I know that I'm on a journey of my happiness. And if I'm happy, I'm good. My job is not to make you happy anymore. My job is to be happy with you, but it's not for me to make you happy. If I have to make you happy, then that means I have to take something from myself. I'm tired of taking things from myself. I'm tired of being fearful of, telling you no. I can't do that. I can't be everything for you while you be nothing for me. I can't do it. So I say to you guys, be happy, be fruitful with life, and know that it's worth living. You're worth surviving. You're worth being more than what people want you to be. You're everything. Even if you have nothing. If I lost everything I have today, it doesn't mean anything. It does not mean anything. But what I won't do is I won't allow that person that hurt me be able to hurt me again. That's the part I will have if it's all said and done. If it's all taken away from me, I'll have my strength in knowing that you can't hurt me. You can't tell me I'm a failure. I'm not a failure. I had it. I lost it. Didn't take away from me. It only makes me stronger. So believe in yourself. Trust in yourself. Know that you can be anything you want to be, but you have to believe it first. You have to stop being fearful of what is not or what you don't know, and just actually be happy in what you do. And know that you are a person with flaws, but guess what? I'm still a person. You guys have a wonderful Saturday. I appreciate you for stopping by. Again, this will be uploaded tomorrow on YouTube. You can also catch it on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify Podcasts and RSS.com. You can also check out my website at therealbrandyalexander.com. And under podcasts, the podcast will be there, as well as if you want to join me on one of the podcast shows, you can go to contacts on that same website and reach out to me to be a guest on the show so we can talk about it. I look forward to you guys next week. Again, I'm still trying to figure out what I want the next series to be, because I want it to be impactful. I want to talk to the high schoolers that are going back to school, that are in relationships. There's a lot that we don't talk about with our children, and I think it's time we have that awkward conversation, right? So that's what this platform is for. So I don't know what it's going to be called, but it's definitely going to be for women, men, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents. If you are attached to a child, this will be for you to come in and let's talk about abuse in relationships, drugs in high school, learning how to get them through difficult and trying times in high school. I don't in middle school. I don't think people understand teenage years are the most awkward years, and so because they're so awkward, they leave our children to prey. Social media. So we are going to break it down. We are going to talk about it, and we are going to make some healthier children in this unhealthy world. So again, thank you. If you missed it, I'm sorry. I saw some people just join. Thank you to Dana and also Reggie for joining this afternoon on Instagram. I will, like I said, replay this on YouTube tomorrow. I'm sorry that you missed it. But thank you so much for stopping by. You guys have a wonderful Saturday. And this is Brandy saying, don't be in the damn way. Bye, y'all.